Look how far we've come, all the things we've done. Did it all with love, beauty from the bottom up. All I want is you, you're my favorite view. But there's nothing more, girl, you make my heart beat.
And we are back.
We are back, Bumble Bitches.
Doing Friday content. I don't know what episode this is. I know that we are recording into March and today is January 22nd. Good Wives episode is currently premiering.
Yes.
We are working. We jumped in a little bit just to see what was going on. There's about 50 people watching, between 40 and 50 people. Because we hit 1,000 subscribers on that Good Wives YouTube channel. If all 40 of those people stay for the entire podcast, we should be able to go live by like tomorrow.
That'd be dope.
With 1,000 people there, if all 40 people stay there, that'll put us at, 40 hours of watch time? I mean, we should get those watched hours fairly quick. So I'm looking forward to that. I will probably log into another account and watch it again, like from the beginning, because this episode is one that Carrie edited and I still haven't watched.
Okay.
I was waiting because I thought we were going to sit through the premiere, but we have to record and we have content to create since we might be going out of town next month.
Yes.
Which will have happened by the time this comes out. So hopefully we had a great time by the time you saw this. We're going to do, this is from a website called myassignmenthelp.com. This is just relationship questions that we are going to ask each other and then talk about. As you guys know who watch the podcast, the emails become a lot. They are very emotionally draining sometimes. Sometimes there's frustration. Sometimes there's sadness. And we don't want to do just that. So we're looking for other things that we can do that's still relationship based that actually benefits everybody that's watching. And it does not pull away from what we are doing in terms of relationship content. You have anything you want to jump into before we jump into this?
No, not really.
Okay. First question on this is debate topics on a relationship. Do you think most individuals tend to fake love in the modern era?
Hey guys, little quick interruption. If you're enjoying the content, please leave a like. And also don't forget to comment. We enjoy interacting with you guys and hearing your opinions, and it helps the algorithm.
It's also free to do, and if you really want to help make sure the show continues to do, hit the subscribe button and share the content across your social medias. It costs you nothing, and it greatly helps the show.
No, they don't even try to hide their hatred towards their person anymore.
I agree with that. I think that people don't understand what love is anymore. I think that they chase lust, and because they chase lust, when that lust fades, the animosity starts, and the resentment starts building, and the new shiny is gone. And with the advent of the accessibility to people on the internet, with social media apps and dating apps, and things like Snapchat, you can continue to get that attention meter filled and not have to leave your relationship because you can get it from outside sources. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that people really know what love is anymore. Love is fighting through those hard times because the relationship is important enough to do so. It's not about me anymore. It's not about you anymore. It's about us and trying to make things work. And people get so caught up in the you and me thing and not the us thing. Next question is do you believe online dating to be a blessing or a threat?
It depends on... I'm going to go with a threat. There are people who get wrapped up in long-distance relationships and they never meet the person. It's been 10 years and they don't understand why they're not happy.
Yeah. I view it as a threat because when you look at the history of dating, it used to start with families. Mm. You know, families knew each other and they would bring people around and try to get their families to commingle. Then you look into like the last 100 years, a lot of it was friendships. You found relationships through your social circles or through your workplace, over the last 50 years. Now it's the bar is so small that you can't even tell what the percentages of people that I met through friends or work. It's online dating way over here.
Yeah.
I think that because online dating is not a true connection, it's based solely on appearance. There's no real sustenance to the dating apps. This is what I'm into. I like music. I like booty. Here's my abs. Mm-hmm. Right? Like that's the dating app. There's no real reason to connect with people. I think when you meet somebody in a social circle and you have to spend, 5 hours at an event and you guys are there the entire 5 hours laughing and talking and getting to know each other, and it's not just polite conversation and there's a genuine connection there, I believe those relationships are going to work better. So I also believe that online dating is a threat. I do understand that it puts a lot more people in front of you. I just think that they need to clear up the criteria to make it so that it's not just a smash and grab.
Yeah.
Number 3 says discuss how love is portrayed in world films. I don't know what world films are. I don't really watch a whole lot of anything that's not in English, so I can't really speak on that one. You have anything on that? Because you do watch shit that I don't watch.
I don't know what they mean by world films.
Okay. Number 4 says how to juggle career ambitions with the goals of a relationship.
I think career ambitions should commingle with the goals of the relationship.
How? Like, how do you make that work?
With balance. Which one is more of a priority?
Right. Well, and ultimately, I think that's what it comes down to. If my goal was to be a high functioning CEO that's not going to be home very often, and your job is to, and your want is to have a very needy man in your life where you can sit down and cuddle and spend quality time and your physical touch, love language and all of that, and I'm never there, that's not going to work.
Right.
I think that this also falls back onto question 2 about the online dating. If you get to meet somebody and you have a career-oriented man and a career-oriented woman, that relationship's going to look a whole lot different than a woman who is a stay-at-home and a man who works all the time, or a woman who works a part-time job because that's all she needs to pay her bills while the guy is out grinding, or the other way around. Like, I think all of that is problematic if you are not very clear on the expectations of the relationship up front. Mm-hmm. That falls onto the courting phase. I think that if you are in the courting phase and you meet somebody, dating app or otherwise, and you don't have a conversation about the future and what you look like and what you expect your future to be, it's going to create a bunch of problems for yourself. The next thing is about teenagers having a vote and part in politics. That's not a conversation that do you think that, do you think teenagers should be allowed to vote and take part in politics? I do not.
I don't either. They're too heavily influenced by their parents. And if a parent is a hardcore liberal,
yeah, or far-right conservative.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think that they have enough free thinking happening to be able to make a decision for themselves.
Yeah, I agree. I don't even know why that's on here. And they didn't write should. They wrote must.
Yeah.
So this is a biased thing, the way that that's written. Number 6 says, can infidelity in a relationship be truly forgiven?
I think it can be.
I think this is a very hard question. Mm-hmm. And I don't think this is a black or white yes or no.
Right.
I think for some people, it absolutely can. I think for some people, they have enough of a logic brain understanding of what's going on in their relationship at the time that infidelity happens to make it a decision as to whether or not it can be forgiven or if it's even worth being forgiven. I also think that not everybody is truly capable of that. There are people out there that are so attached to their person that any type of betrayal, small, doesn't matter what it is, they're ready to write them the fuck off out of their life because the hurt's too great. So that question is definitely not black or white. Mm-hmm. I do believe it can be, and I truly believe that. I just don't think it's for everyone. I think there are people out there who are just hard no.
Yeah.
How to overcome the differences in the relationship between introvert and extrovert individuals. This is a great question. If you were, because like we don't know what you are. You think that you might be an extrovert. You think I'm an introvert. I think that we're both.
I didn't say I think you're an introvert.
It's the other way around?
Yeah.
The other way around. You're an introvert. I'm an extrovert. There's actually a term for that. The middlevert. That's not what it's called. Ambivert. Ambivert is the other word. And for those of you who don't know what an ambivert is, it's the alert when somebody goes missing. An ambivert is someone who has characteristics of both an introvert and an extrovert. They sometimes are called outgoing or social introverts. I actually think that we are both ambiverts. I think that your social battery gets full and emptied a lot faster than mine does. Your social interactions would be fewer, like far and fewer in between than mine would be. So anyways, let's say that we are actually introvert and extrovert, and we have that extreme difference where I want to be the social butterfly that goes out to events, goes to concerts, goes to dinners, and you just want to stay at home with a good book and a comfortable ass blanket wearing one of my hoodies. And how do we balance those kind of things so that we can enjoy hobbies together, still let each other not be drained or be filled up, depending on how you want to word it, and make that work? What does that look like for you? What are some of the things you think that we can do?
Once a week date nights.
Should we be looking for places that are not overly crowded, or does that matter?
I think that matters to a certain extent. I can sit in a movie theater, no problem, because we're not interacting with other people.
Right. Yeah, I can't do concerts. It takes too much out of me mentally. It exhausts me to be there. even if it's a sit down concert, like when we go to musicals,
Yeah.
there's still an era of alert that's going on within me. And I have a hard time enjoying the show because I need to know what's going on around me all the time. And like, that could be a trauma thing. It could just be the way that my brain works. I don't fucking know, but that would matter. So like if we were doing once a week date nights, I wouldn't want to go to a musical every week.
Right.
It would be too much. Concerts are absolutely not a thing. I am not trying to bump shoulders with anyone, which is really fucking weird because I want to go to Burning Man. Like I want to experience Burning Man at some point. So I don't know how that would work, but I think that's the desert. It's a big open thing. Like I don't think I would have a problem having that type of experience. We're not crammed into a fenced fucking pit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Do you think that it's healthy for the relationship to have the nights where the person stays home and the other person goes out to make sure that needs are being met for the introvert and the extrovert? How does that look without jealousy? If it was a woman, what are acceptable woman things? If you were a man, what would you be cool with your woman doing?
Are you asking me if I was a man, what I would be okay with?
What would you be okay with a woman doing? Because you know what women do. Just like I know what men do.
Going to dinner with friends, going to a painting class, walking around Hobby Lobby shopping.
Yeah. Simple things.
Yeah.
Things that don't involve alcohol, drugs, parties. Yeah, for me it would be things like a bowling, a gun range, anything that doesn't require me to be out super late. Like if I was a woman telling my guy you could do these things. And this isn't about giving permission. It's about setting clear boundaries to the courting phase so that everybody knows how to make the introvert extrovert thing work. I wouldn't want my dude doing anything that would be requiring him to be out super late at night. If dinner's at 7:00, anything later than like 8:30 is too late. I would expect to know that like, hey, you're going to be a little bit late tonight. Dinner will be a little bit later. I'll make sure that by the time you get home, it's done. Just don't be later than X, right? I think that's a fair conversation. I don't think that it's overstepping anything, and I think it's still working together as a team. I also think that those things should be correlated.
Yeah.
As the extrovert, that's the one that stays in, right? And extrovert is outgoing, introvert is in. Okay. The introvert they should correlate their self-care time with the extrovert's outgoing time. So if I'm going to go bowling or archery or hiking with a group of people and you want to stay at home and take a bath and read a book, we should correlate those times together so that we can come back and then talk about what we did. Like, John and I saw a bear.
Right.
I took a bath. It was great. I read a book. Well, would you read? And we can have a conversation about it. It also gives us something to do that keeps our individuality, allows us to fill our social, allows us to fill our cup, so to speak. I don't know which part of our cup is getting filled, but needs are being met. And it allows us to come back together afterwards and talk about our hobbies and gives us new things to discuss versus politics or religion or whatever it is that we saw on YouTube that day.
I'm shocked you didn't include video gaming in that.
I would want to do that together. I enjoy playing video games with you. It's a lot more fun when you're there than when you're not. I get my social interaction through our gaming group, but it's the same like 6 people every time we play. And there's times that I just would rather sit in the chat than actually play the video games. That's why all I play is prop hunt now. I don't like the competitive aspect of it. I like the joking and the stupid shit talking and all of that. That's where I'm getting my my meter, my social meter gets charged. But I do think I think that an introverted person could use video games as their decompression time. If somebody enjoys playing Skyrim and they're not in a social setting where there's 9 other fucking people running their mouths, I can see how that does it. You get brain activity, hand-eye coordination. There's a reward system that's there. You get dopamine hit when you get new loot. Like there's a whole lot of things in that aspect that could be a huge fucking win for somebody.
Right.
So, and I think that's actually conversations that should be had about video games in general, but those never actually come up because it's always talked about as escapism.
Right. Or a negative thing in the relationship.
Yeah. Well, it's because that's the stigma. All my boyfriend does is play video games from the time he gets up until the time he goes to bed. It's very rare that people bitch about gamer girls. Like it's because that's most nerds' dream. Oh, we can play Call of Duty together. Like you're not going to bitch that I'm playing Destiny for 15 hours. We're going to grind this fucking raid together. Let's go. But that's, a small percentage of women who are into video games like that. So, which is why that conversation is always shitting on men. You don't hear fucking men complaining, you're going to the hair salon again.
Yeah.
It's always the price.
Right.
All right. Love is blind, myth or reality?
Oh, that's a reality. I think people get so blinded by their want to be loved and to love somebody else that they're willing to ignore a whole lot of things they're not okay with.
I don't know how I feel about that question Because I agree with you on the red flag thing, but I don't believe that that's love. I believe it's lust.
Yeah.
I believe the want of that thing, the new shiny, the dream of it, is what makes people blind. I don't think it's the actual feeling of love. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, number 9. We talk about this on the podcast from time to time. Physical appearance is essential in a relationship. Do you think it's true?
Yes.
Absolutely. And for everybody, because this just came up between the Good Wives podcast with people who are getting upset over the he should love you no matter how you look because of the women who are gaining weight in relationships. People have a fucking preference.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you like big women or little women or whatever the case may be. If that's what you like, that's what you like. And if your partner changes from that and becomes a different person, it doesn't mean that you don't love them. It means that your attraction to them could change. That's an honest assessment. And anybody who says otherwise is a fucking liar. You will still love your person and not be attracted to them. It is very possible. So I think it is essential. I think the way that you present yourself or how you look in the beginning of a relationship is initially what creates that attraction to makes you want to talk to somebody. If you are somebody who, let's even take it away from physical appearance and do physical traits. If you are somebody who is always smiling, always happy, carries yourself well, has good posture, takes care of your outward dressing appearance, you do your hair and your nails, your teeth are whitened, and then all of a sudden, one day you are no longer getting out of sweatpants and you're not smiling anymore. You're fucking depressed all the time. You're not brushing your teeth. You're not getting dressed. You're not doing your makeup. Your man is going to look at you and go, what happened to my fucking woman?
Right.
On the opposite side of that, if you're a dude who was 220 pounds with fucking 9% body fat when you started dating and now you're married 10 years later, you're 480 pounds. You can't touch your fucking toes. You have a yeast infection around your fucking groin. Your woman doesn't want that, bro. Like you let yourself go. She may still love you and you could be a great provider, but she's not attracted to that.
Right.
She was attracted to the man that she fell in love with. You guys get fucking all uppity in that shit because you don't want to hear that you need to lose weight or that you've let your person down. You get super offended by that shit. And I don't give a fuck if that bothers any of you. I hope that all of you overweight people who are hearing this right now that are getting mad at me about it, get mad. Go to the gym and take it out on the weights. Go get on that stair.
Right.
Yeah, and eat right. Go get on that stair stepper.
Was that a joke because that's what I'm doing now? Or?
No, it was a joke because you sat down on a chair last night and was like,
yeah.
I did like 30,000 steps. You didn't actually say it like that.
No,
but
I
that's how I heard
did
it.
2,600 steps yesterday.
That's a lot.
The day before I did 2,100.
That's still a lot. It's 20 flights of stairs.
Yeah.
LL Cool J said at one point that there was an apartment building he used to live in when he was a kid, and he would run from the bottom to the top, and he would stop and do push-ups, jumping jacks, or squats on every floor. So he'd go up the stairs and then do whatever that was. Like if it was 10 steps, he would do 10 push-ups, and then go to the next floor because it's 20 steps now, and he would do 20 something else. And he would do that for 10 sets. And that was his workout routine when he was like still shredded young man. I think shit like that is super cool to do because it breaks up the monotony of the cardio, but your heart rate never comes down.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. Number 10, is it important for couples to confess love every day? Yes. Undeniably.
That was fast.
Well, yes, it is. I don't want to have moments where you feel like you love me and don't tell me. And I don't want something to happen where I'm like, damn, that's my fucking woman, and me not tell you. I think that it's important to let people know how you feel, where your head is, why you love them. You know, the I love you, well, why? What made you say that? Like that's very prevalent to us. We still do that shit. I think it's important for people that are in love to remind their person as to why they're in love. I also think that is positive affirmation and can help establish a pattern of behavior. Right? If I'm doing something and you're like, I love it when you do X, Y, Z. I love it when, and I hear that enough, I'm just going to keep doing it because I know it makes you happy. And I think that in the grand scheme of things, people who are happy in their marriage are going to want to serve their partner in those things because happy house, happy spouse, happy house.
One of those.
It was the second one.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree with you.
Any special reason why?
Well, everything that you said. I also believe that humans crave that attention.
I agree.
And if it's not being given in your relationship, it's going to start being seeked out elsewhere. Sought out elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And you're right. You see that. That's why the emotional cheating starts so much. It's attention. I also don't want to be the guy that has a moment where I'm like, damn, I really love that woman. And then her die in a car accident and me not have expressed that I really love you when you do this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have that regret. I really don't. And that doesn't mean saying I love you when you hang the phone up or when you leave the house. It means you did something. You told me I'm proud of me. And I'm like, I'm proud of you. And I'm like, oh, I fucking love you. Thank you for that. Like, I don't want that to go unchecked. I think that those are going to be the moments that you remember. I don't want the moments that I remember to be ugliness or shortcomings. All right. Controversial relation topics. I almost said controversial.
Yeah.
Controversial relationship topics. Finance is an important aspect of a relationship. Do you agree?
Yes.
I agree too. I believe that, and I know from the studies that I've read that is the number one cause for divorce. It's not infidelity like everyone wants to say. And then the top 4, it's finance, and then the next 3 can all be attributed to finance. I think that the conversations of financial situation should happen on a weekly basis. I think that both people should know what's going on with the money, how much we're making, where it's going, and what it looks like. And I think that when things start to get tight, both parties need to realize how much stress that puts in the household, and it needs to be reeled the fuck in. I think that's one of the most important aspects of a relationship, especially in marriage.
I think another thing that is important to consider when looking at finances in a relationship, I'm somebody who wants to travel the world. And if I get with somebody who is complacent with being an overnight worker at Walmart and they're okay with living in a 2-bedroom apartment for the rest of their life, you might not see that.
No, ain't no might. You're not.
Right.
On a minimum wage job, you can't, even to rent a hotel room is a problem. I agree with that. But that also speaks to having a good foundation and understanding what your ambitions are. You should be talking about what your retirement looks like when you're dating, like before you're moving in, like when you guys are still getting to know each other. What's your favorite music is not an important question. What are your dreams? What is your retirement? What is your ultimate fucking goal in life look like with houses? Those are the important questions. Music and shit matters. If you're driving in a car for a long duration and someone listens to country and someone doesn't, and that's what you want to play, that's going to create conflict. Okay. Number 2 says explore the differences between love and lust in a relationship. I feel like this is a really long, broad conversation that can be had.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm going to just simply say that most people don't know the difference between the two. And when that lust wears off, you'll know if you're in love or not.
I think everybody's past relationship can show the difference between that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You look at where the intentional behavior stopped and see how you feel. If that point, if you hate your roommate because that's how you're treating them, it shows that it was lust. Is it normal to keep secrets while dating? I really don't want to get into that whole lust-love conversation. I feel like that could be an entire episode, and I want to get through some of these. So,
okay.
Is it normal to keep secrets while dating? I think so. While dating, I think so. I think...
Depends on the secret.
What do you mean?
Like if someone has an STD or is lying about having children, it's a problem.
Well, lying is not keeping a secret.
Yeah.
Lying is lying.
I watched a video once of a trans woman keeping a secret of the fact that she was a trans woman for like the first 4 or 5 dates. I don't believe that's a secret that should be kept.
Right. I think I do think the secret matters. I think it is normal to keep some secrets. Like you're not going to disclose your credit score on the first date. There's going to be things that have to be earned.
Right.
And I don't think that's even secret keeping. Like I can see how it could be worded that way, but I think that that's things that get disclosed at the right time.
When it's serious enough.
Right. When it's serious enough. So at that point, yes, those secrets matter. However, keeping malicious secrets or things that could potentially harm the relationship long-term, you're building a foundation on lies.
Yes.
And in that aspect, or in untruths, right? In that aspect, I think it becomes a problem, and I don't think it should be kept as secrets. I think that if it could harm the foundation, it needs to be disclosed immediately. Credit scores, financial situations, if you have a house in Bermuda, like those are secrets you should hold close. People don't need to know your financial status on your first date.
Right.
Number 4 of the controversial relationship topics. Do you think it is necessary for a couple to maintain joint or separate bank accounts?
I think for a married couple, it's a necessity to have at least one joint account. We're not hiding money from each other. Your paycheck is not your paycheck and my paycheck's not my paycheck. We're going to budget this together, and then whatever's left over, we can divvy up for spending or groceries or whatever needs to be done.
And do you think that's where the separate accounts come in?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have a joint account for all of the major bills. And then you just move it from the major account to the side accounts for spending money.
Yeah.
You want to buy a new pair of boots. There's your spending money. Okay. I agree with that. I think that it is necessary for a couple to have a joint account. I don't like the idea of what's yours is yours and what's mine is mine. I feel like that is living a divided state, especially in a marriage. I don't like the idea of secret bank accounts on either part. I think that that's also divisive. I think it's a lie. And I think having those bank accounts, the emergency secret bank accounts, is living with one foot out the door.
Yeah, that's already preparing for the downfall of the relationship.
Yeah. Number 5 says, do you believe jealousy and insecurity is a sign that you love an individual?
No.
I don't either.
I think it's a sign that you're broken and damaged, and that's something that should be worked on. I felt insecure and jealous in past relationships, and I recognize that there wasn't love there.
I have said in the past that I think a little bit of jealousy is a good thing. And then I've had people say that jealousy comes from envy. I've had a whole lot of people try to correct that vernacular. And in my head, the jealousy that I had would be like, I want her attention. Why is she giving it to somebody else? Right. And to me, that doesn't seem like resentment or envy. It's I want that quality time. Insecurity is definitely a sign of trauma and a whole lot of shit that needs to be worked through. I actually am at a point now with everything that I understand and all the books that we've read and the conversations we've had that I don't think jealousy or insecurity is a sign that you love an individual. And I don't think that either one of them are healthy in a relationship. I think that insecurity, I think both of those can create wedges between people. I think that that's a big fucking problem. And insecurity unchecked insecurity can absolutely create a whole lot of nagging, bitching, complaining, control, making demands of one another. I think that those are problematic. I think that knowing that you can check the insecurity, like, hey, this just happened and it made me feel insecure. Can we talk about this? And then have a conversation so that your partner knows that you're feeling insecure without making demands of them. Like, I know that just happened. It made me feel insecure, and we can talk about the feeling and we can work through it. I mean, that's normal shit. That's healthy shit. That's how you get better. Number 6 says, do you think it is normal for people to fall in love with multiple individuals?
Like polyamorous?
It doesn't say at the same time. I think that you are going to love a lot of people throughout your life. And I think that the love that you display to each of those people is going to change. I truly don't believe that you will ever love somebody the same way as somebody else. Love evolves. And the way that you evolve as a person impacts that. So my answer to that, because of the way that it's worded, is yes. But the way that the way that this is written is in falling in love. It sounds like infidelity. And if that's the case, I don't agree. Number 7 is, do you believe monogamy is a natural or a concept established by the society? I don't think it's established by society. I think on an animalistic level, because we are animals, our desire for, like, base level is to procreate across the board. Women find men attractive because of the genetic traits that they want to pass on to their kids. Men find women attractive because they want to get a piece of ass and spread their seed.
Well, it's also the safety and protection that comes with being with a man.
Right, but that was not a thing for a while in history. Established relationships created that safety. You look at cavemen, that wasn't a thing. Like, we had communal situations, but it wasn't like it is now. That is definitely societal. But if you have good men, doesn't matter if you're with a man or not. If they see you getting harmed, they would step up and do that. So you don't need a relationship for that in a world of good men. So to answer the question, I don't believe that monogamy is a natural concept it is natural or a concept established by society. I think it was established by religion, and that makes sense. As for it being natural, I don't. I think that at our base lizard brains, sex is nothing more than procreation to make sure that our bloodlines continue, to make sure that we continue to populate the planet.
Right.
I think that where monogamy comes into play is when emotions become there.
Right.
Or when you want to start talking about, marriages. That's where the monogamy conversation should come into play, but that's also an evolutionary mind state. What do you think?
I agree with everything that you said. So,
all right. Number 8, do you think age gap impacts relationships in modern societies?
I don't understand the question.
Does an age gap impact a relationship? I believe an age gap can impact a relationship.
Depends on the age gap.
Depends on the relationship and why they're together.
Yeah.
That would be the impact, right? So like if you have somebody who's 50 years old, that's a multi-billionaire that meets an 18-year-old that sees a free ticket, that age gap doesn't matter. That's their free ride.
Yeah.
But that relationship's not one based out of love or understanding. It's arm candy and money. Whereas our relationship, we have a little over 10 years between the two of us. Our relationship's not based off of that. If we were broke, we would be doing the same shit that we're doing. We would just do it without having to be online, because at that point we'd be doing different shit.
Yeah.
But we know finance is a big part of the relationship anyways, because that was a question on here. But I think that it comes down to maturity. If you have a 45-year-old man boy and a 25-year-old fucking woman who is much further along in her maturity levels, they may not match. Like they may not mesh. I think that matters. I don't think the age matters so much once you get past a certain point.
Yeah.
Or to a certain point. Obviously, I can't imagine there's a whole lot of 18-year-olds running around with a lot in common with a 60-year-old.
Right.
But I also think at that point, that's a decision that both people are making to do, and they're both consenting adults.
I agree with that.
On a longer answer to this question, I do believe that it impacts relationships. I believe that men don't come into their prime until we're 35, 40 years old.
Yeah.
I also think that on an emotional maturity level, it takes us a lot longer to get there than you guys. However, I think that's more along the lines of being able to talk through what we're feeling and going through, because we have to learn how to do that. I don't think that we're as emotional as you guys are. So like a 25-year-old woman and a 50-year-old man or a 45-year-old man are not going to have the same emotional responses to things. But I think that a 35-year-old man or a 25-year-old man is not going to have the same ability to communicate what it is they're feeling. 25 years old, it's just anger and rage. You haven't had the time to work through things and really be an adult yet. Whereas women are taught from a very early age how to identify and process their emotions, and I think that would impact a relationship.
I agree.
So yes, the short answer to that is yes, it absolutely does impact relationships, but I believe it can impact it in a positive. Is it possible for an individual to live without a relationship their whole life? Of course it is.
Yeah,
It would be lonely. Do you think friendship truly forms the foundation of love?
Yes.
Yeah, same. Absolutely. I think that without that, your relationship is roommates. If you don't genuinely enjoy the person that you're together with, why are you there? And that speaks to the relationship, the bonds that you've created through friendships.
Yeah.
That speaks on the dating app thing and the foundation of what we were talking about earlier. This section is relationship topics on conflict resolution. Number 1 is describe the ways to repair faith and rebuild bridges in relationship conflicts. Oh man, might have picked the wrong section.
Yeah, it's a pretty big question.
Listen to the To Be Better podcast starting at season 1, episode 1. That's my answer to that. Repair starts during conflict, not after. And it's hard. It's really fucking hard, especially if you are spicy brained or angry at the person to put that shit aside and be like, look, I love you still. I'm not leaving just because we're going through this right now. I'm not going anywhere. I just need to let you know that, or a touch. That shit's hard. At least for me, it's very difficult when I'm going through all that shit. To rebuild bridges means that you have to actively listen. And to actively listen means you have to probe. Mm-hmm. You can't just be like, okay, I got it.
Or disengage.
Right. So if you're explaining something to me, I have to be able to hear, like, give it back to you, validate it. And then I need to ask questions as to why, what caused that? Where did this come from? Whatever, so that I can get you to continue talking, so that I can continue to understand what's happening. Because if I don't understand, I can't really commit. And if I don't really commit, those bridges aren't going to get resolved or repaired in a relationship. I still stand by my original answer. Go back and start at episode 1 of the podcast.
Yeah.
How to address emotional triggers in relationship conflicts.
Address them outside of the conflict.
I agree.
And introspection, self-reflection, and communication.
I do agree that they should be addressed outside of the relationship. However, when they happen, if it's
outside of the relationship,
outside of the conflict.
Okay.
However, if they happen and there is an emotional response immediately from it, and you are unaware that it's a trigger, it is cool to go, wait a minute, pause. That just made me feel like blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And we need to discuss this for a minute. That's a different situation than flying off the fucking handle because you were triggered by something and you're choosing to react versus respond to a situation. I definitely think the hows, the who, what, when, where, and why of triggers definitely needs to be had in a calm, non-combative situation so that it's not an attack on your person. And you shouldn't say, when you do, it triggers me. You say, I recognize that these behavior patterns are a trigger for me. And it makes me feel like da-da-da-da-da. And this is why. When I was 6, blah, 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 right? Because then it's not fuck you for being that person that triggered me. It's, I have this trigger. It is an emotional response. It came from this. Here's why. Can we talk about it?
I agree.
Triggers are hard because most people don't want to reel themselves back in. Discuss the best ways to execute active listening skills for resolving a conflict in a relationship. We just did that.
Yeah.
But I feel the need to do it again. Asking probing questions is going to change everything with your communication. I was actually just reading, it might have been a Jocko Willink book. I could be wrong on that. But they were talking about, it was a Jocko book. It was talking about the need to fully understand the mission at hand and then give it 100%. And if you don't understand the mission, you don't understand the who, what, when, where, and why of the mission, and you don't believe in the mission, you can't complete the mission at 100% effectiveness. That's the relationship. If you and I are fighting and you have a point and I'm missing the fucking point and you're getting mad at me because I'm missing the point and we are now arguing over the fact that the point is being missed, and we get mad and we disengage from each other and the conversation never gets resolved and you feel unheard and unvalidated and I feel like all you did is bitched at me, the issue is still not resolved. I can't commit to any type of resolution to what's going on because fuck you for bitching at me and fuck me for not understanding what's going on. Those probing questions are necessary in order to get to a baseline understanding. And that needs to be from a place of I want you to understand, not a place of fuck you because I'm hurting right now. And that's where people get caught up. I really think that people get too mad and too worried about making their person feel a certain way. They get vindictive. I'm hurt, so you have to hurt, versus I'm hurt and this is why, and I need you to understand how I feel so that we don't do this again. I think that that's a lot of fights for people.
You see it in emails all the time.
I mean, I've seen it in my personal life in the past. You know, you do something and, well, I just won't fucking do that anymore then. Well, that's not me understanding your point. That's me just trying to make the argument stop. Or maybe I do understand it and I validated it and I say that it's not going to happen anymore and I'll change the behavior. But like, there needs to be more than, well, I just won't fucking do that then. You know what I mean? Like there's a whole lot that comes into that. That's a very loaded, I mean, that's a whole podcast. That is a whole podcast episode. We're 45 minutes in. We have 15 minutes until we have to go live on
YouTube and Facebook.
Correct. I don't know where. Patreon is the only thing I could think of. Speaking of Patreon, if you guys are not a member of our Patreon, this is a great opportunity for you to go do that. We have a whole lot of fear around social media right now because of the TikTok ban, which was re-implemented. At the time of this recording, there is 74 days left of the ban, of the stay of execution before the ban is re-implemented, based off of what's going on with the agreement the president can make with the executives of TikTok. If TikTok doesn't sell and that app goes away, we lose 2.7 million followers across all of our TikToks. I'm sure there's carryover there, so we'll call it 2 million just to be safe. We do a whole lot of extra content for Patreon. This will get released for Patreon way before you guys get it in March. We have daily vlogs. Both of us are vlogging every day, just little snippets of our life and what's going on, which is fun content. People really seem to be enjoying that. We go live on Patreon a couple times a week. There's a Discord community there. We do meet and greets. There's a whole lot that happens as part of the community. It's not just a fucking pay app. Discord is huge. There's 1,000 people in there. They don't all interact, but they're there. There's homesteading questions, parenting questions, stay-at-home questions. There's all kinds of stuff that can be found in the Discord community if you get in there and start talking.
Yep. We
have a general chat that's called The Ball Pit. It's a whole lot of fun. If you are not part of our Patreon, we highly recommend that you go check that out. If you don't want to support us financially, you can share the content. It's free, doesn't cost you a dime, and it helps us get a bigger reach.
Yeah.
So please go check all that out. This is under the relationship debate topics, male versus female. Do you think dating strategies should differ by gender?
Yes.
Why?
Because I'm not going to walk on the side of the road that has cars coming towards it. I'm not opening the door for you. I'm not pulling your chair out for you.
Okay, so what about some of the non-action things? Like, do you think a woman should be buying dinner? Do you think a woman should be the one to approach a man and be like, hey, want to go on a date?
If she does that, she has to pay.
Yeah. A gentleman ain't going to let that ride.
Yeah. I don't see anything wrong with that.
With her asking the date?
Yeah.
I do.
Why?
Because I'm old school. I think that it would be better for a woman to walk up and be like, hey, here's my phone number. I would love it if you called me sometime. That's the extent of the initiation.
Okay.
And I can't even give you a reason why.
You just feel that in your bones.
I just don't like the idea of a woman approaching me going, hey, you want to go to dinner sometime? I wouldn't like that. It would make me feel uncomfortable. It would probably make me feel pretty good if I was a single man and that happened because somebody recognizes or acknowledges my existence, but it doesn't sit right with my brain. So I'm going to say that, and I honestly don't know why. I would rather just the number be given. I would love for you to call me sometime so that we can get to know each other. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing as asking to go on a date, but I don't fucking know why I have a problem with it. I just do. I wouldn't want a woman to pay for me on the first date. Even if I was really broke, I would rather go do something for free. On the opposite side of that, I wouldn't want to make, I mean, I guess maybe I could cook dinner for a first date, but I would rather a woman cook for me on a first date if we were doing something like that where we're not really financially comfortable to spend money going out to eat. Maybe we can do a picnic, make you some lasagna and we can fucking throw it on the dash of the truck until it's hot enough to eat. Whatever. I do think that the gender should approach dating differently. I don't want a man in my relationship. I'm the man in my relationship. I don't need another one. So I don't want to be treated as a man. I don't want to, hey, bro. Like, I don't want any of that. I want the opposite of what I bring to the table. I want feminine and nurturing, and I want a wife. You know, in a dating scenario, I'm not trying to date a girlfriend. I'm trying to date a wife. I want intent. I'm living with intent. And I think that if you are trying to do the exact same thing and you're marrying the same person you are, it's not going to be fulfilling. I think there's going to be a whole lot of things that are on the table that both people don't want to do that's going to create problems as well. So I do think that the strategy should differ by gender. What are the best ways to combat gender stereotypes as a team? I enjoy gender stereotypes. I want my woman to be a woman.
I want my man to be a man.
I don't understand. Now, are we talking about like all women are gold diggers and all men are sluts? Like, is that the conversation we're having? Because that's a different conversation. That's negative societal bullshit that's being taught. Like, and the best ways to combat that is to be a person that is not those things. If your man tells you that all women are gold diggers, don't be a gold digger. If she says that all men are whores and you guys just want to fucking get your dick wet, prove otherwise. Be the opposite of what the stereotype says. That's an easy one. But I do think some stereotypes are a good thing. Do you think gender expectations can be detrimental to satisfaction?
No. If I expect my man to be a man and I pick a man who is a boy, I don't view that as the gender expectation being detrimental to satisfaction. I picked the wrong person.
Right. I think that it can. But I also think this speaks back to the stereotypes. If I got a woman who I want to be a housewife or a traditional relationship and she's a hardcore feminist and she refuses to do gender roles and I'm for gender roles, that can be detrimental to the happiness in the relationship.
That's also, that boils down to you picked that person.
I know. It does.
So I don't think the gender expectations are the problem. If you get with somebody who doesn't meet your standard of a relationship, that's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that speaks on the foundation of the relationship and the conversations. I agree with that. Yeah. Some of these are like gotcha questions.
Yeah.
Do you think killing and dying is justified in love?
Yes.
I do too.
Unalive someone super quick for my children.
There you go. That's exactly the argument that I was going to make.
Not playing that game.
Yep.
And there's a difference between killing and murder.
Absolutely. Do you think overprotection or excessive love can be a toxic thing in relationships?
If it's done from insecurity or jealousy, yes.
I agree. I think that overprotection or excessive love can absolutely become detrimental to a relationship if it's from a place of control, psychotic, like, why weren't you at stoplight at 3:45 like you normally are? Yeah. It was 3:47. What'd you do for 2 minutes? Right? Like, absolutely can become a problem. However, I think that a man's duty is to protect his family. And there's at what point do you go, I'm doing too much. If you have a bug out bag in your car, you know how to use your weapon. I oil it every night, whatever, right? Like there is a level of, do you really need a gas mask in your car? Overprotection can be. So I think that needs to be discussed in a relationship. I also understand that there are people in relationships who could be complete like crazy doomsday prepper crazy. Like, I mean, I'm not saying you guys are crazy. I prep, but at one point it was excessive as a motherfucker. If you have one person that's super into that and one that's super not, and the other person is trying to force that to keep the family safe, there needs to be an understanding of what is too much and what is not. If it comes down to simply having a bag in a car with a bunch of gear in it that you know that I teach you how to use, and we spend 2 weeks doing shakedowns trying to figure out how to operate everything in your bag so you know how to use it, is that excessive? Or is that a day or 2 weeks that we get to practice doing stuff together, even though you may not really want to do it so that you're safe?
Right.
Like, so where does that land? I think a lot of that comes down to understanding your relationship, the roles in the relationship, which could come down to gender roles as well. And then how you view those times. If you were trying to teach me something that could save my life when we spend 4 hours doing it, that's 4 hours that we got to spend together doing something that you enjoy that I may not, but I still learn something from it. I think that's a win. So
I agree.
Let's wrap up, take a quick break, and then go live on
All the platforms.
all the platforms. Guys, thanks for tuning in today. We are going to start doing some random content like this from time to time because it's more enjoyable than reading emails. And our main podcast that drops on Mondays will continue to be just that. As always, guys, you are the author of your own life.
So grab a pen.
And we will see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.